Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to compare two premium gaming mice. Two fantastically well-designed mice with a number of really nice features to them. The Razer Viper Ultimate, seen here, which is a wonderful ambidextrous mouse with a number of nice highlights to it, and the Logitech G502 Lightspeed, which is a really angry-looking mouse with a multitude of buttons, and is very much a right-handed mouse, but it also is really interesting in a number of different ways. And in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the features, facets and specifications of these mice, the differences between them, and which is more appealing in my personal opinion, and the reasons why. Now these are two quite different mice. The Razer Viper Ultimate, for example, weighs in at just 74 grams, while the Logitech G502 Lightspeed comes in at 114 grams with just the mouse, and even more when you start adding in the extra weights as well. These are two wireless mice that have a good battery life. You can get up to 70 hours of battery life out of the Razer and 60 hours roughly out of the G502 Lightspeed, so they're comparable in that way. We'll start talking about the Razer Viper Ultimate. As I said, this is an ambidextrous mouse. It's designed to be able to be used by left or right-handed gamers. It comes with a little dock on the underside which holds the HyperSpeed wireless dongle, which is Razer's technology for a wireless connection option. And you can use that to store the USB dongle when it's not in use. On the underside, you'll also note a number of PTFE feet and a button which can be used to turn the mouse on and off, as well as a button which allows you to shift between DPI levels or to customize it within Razer software to do other things. You'll also note that it comes with a wireless charging dock, so you can set this up on your desk and then pop the mouse on top of it to charge it when it's not in use, which is obviously beneficial because it means if you remember to do that, you don't need to worry about plugging it in, which is a major highlight for a wireless device, because there's nothing worse than having a wireless mouse, keyboard or headset and then having to plug it in regularly to charge it. So this dock offers a really nice feature in terms of the fact that it just sits there on your desk and simply can be used to charge it when you need to, which is great. It also is chroma enabled, which means it has an RGB lighting ring around the bottom of it, and the mouse itself obviously has RGB lighting as well. Now this uses a micro USB cable that plugs in either to the dock or to your mouse. You can then plug that into your PC, and there is a little USB pass-through that allows you to put the USB dongle into the charging dock as well. So that makes things a lot simpler because it means you only need one USB port on your PC. Then you can plug that into the charging dock, and then when you need to, you can take it out of that and plug it into your mouse. So if you ever need to use it in wired mode, for example, you forgot to plug it in for charging or dock it for charging, you can just do that. Also, it works as a range extender because if the USB dongle is plugged into the charging base, you can have that on your desk. So if your PC's on the floor or a bit out of way, then obviously you can get that dongle closer. So there are a variety of options there. The Razer Viper Ultimate is fairly understated in its overall design. There's only one RGB lighting zone, and you'll see there are buttons on the left and right on the sides. It also has some really nice textured grips on either side that I found to be really comfortable to hold on to, and it has a nice size and shape to it. Obviously lacks a thumb rest, but it does have a very nice textured top. And those side grips, I found it didn't slip around the hand when using it, and it just sits nice and comfortably. The G502 Lightspeed, by comparison, has a much angrier design with a textured side grip as well. And you'll also note it has a thumb rest. It is a much more pointy device, but is very much designed for right-handed gamers, so not for lefties. So that's the obvious vast difference between them. The other one is the fact that it's a lot heavier. If you want a lightweight mouse, obviously you're going to go for the Razer Viper Ultimate. If you're not bothered about weight, or you want something customizable, then G502 Lightspeed is the one to go for. This uses Logitech's Lightspeed wireless technology, which delivers a fantastic wireless connectivity to your PC. And again, it has a similar sort of logic to it. It has a micro USB charging cable that can plug into the mouse. That also connects into this extender box, which you can then use to plug the dongle in, so you can have that sitting on your desk. There is no charging dock, unfortunately, with this mouse. It does need to be plugged in to charge, but you can do it quite quickly. It has a 5-minute charge that allows you to get 2.5 hours of gameplay out of it. It will also work with Logitech's PowerPlay mat, which means that you can plug the mouse mat in and then you can just use the mouse as it is on the surface and never have to worry about plugging it in. In terms of the specification differences between them, the Logitech G502 Lightspeed goes up to 25,000 DPI max, whereas the Razer Basilisk Ultimate tops out at 20,000. The G502 Lightspeed has a 40G max acceleration and 400 IPS, whereas the Viper Ultimate has a max of 650 IPS and 50G acceleration, and the G502 Lightspeed has 11 programmable buttons, whereas the Viper Ultimate only has 8. However, the Hypershift technology on Razer's mouse means that you can add a secondary layer of actions to the buttons, which makes it very appealing. There are some other hardware level differences that you'll see with the G502 Lightspeed though. Obviously, you've already seen some of the weight system, and I'll show you more of that as we go through. But there's also left and right click on the mouse wheel, a DPI button on the top, and you have a sniper button on the side as well. So where the Viper Ultimate is quite understated in its design with just 2 side buttons on either side, textured grips, no DPI button on top, no left and right switch on the mouse wheel, it does have a very nice setup in terms of the button presses and such, but it doesn't have nearly as many buttons within easy access as the G502 Lightspeed. It is, however, a comfortable mouse to use, and I did find it quite joyful in a number of ways. I was a bit put out that there wasn't a DPI button on top, but you do have that button on the underside that you can switch to. I also found the battery life on this thing was fairly fantastic, and that I could just carry on using it for a long time without having to worry about charging. The mouse wheel and the mouse buttons themselves also have a nice action to them. There's no unnecessary play in them. They're easy to use and accurate as well, thanks to Razer's optical switches. The one thing that I will note, however, is that the side buttons are unfortunately not terribly easy to access. I found that they weren't easy to press and that they were hard to feel during a gaming session, which could be a bit of a problem. The G502 Lightspeed has a much different design when it comes to ergonomics and the overall look and feel of it. As I said, you have that left and right click in the mouse wheel. You also have a multitude of buttons within thumb's reach. You can see, for example, that there's one at the tip of my thumb. That's the sniper button, which allows you to drop into a lower DPI. You also have side buttons just above your thumb on there, as well as buttons just off to the left-hand side of your index finger. So this gives you access to a multitude of buttons that can be customized within the software, as well as the DPI button on top as well. And so you have the ability to customize the buttons really easily, but also just access to a load of them. And I feel like the G502 Lightspeed has been one of my favorite mice for the hardware setup, the overall design logic of it. It's a very comfortable fit in the hand thanks to that thumb rest. And the mouse action is also fantastic. That mouse wheel, for example, has a really good response to it, a satisfying click, both in and sideways, and also you have the added bonus of the infinite spin wheel. So you can press a button behind the mouse wheel and go between notched use or just infinite spinning, where you can just spin and spin and spin. You can see it just keeps going and going. This has some interesting use cases, and obviously you can customize what happens with that within the software as well. So what you're seeing is a lot more sort of on the hardware side of things with the G502. It's a lot easier to play around with. However, the Viper Ultimate is also massively customizable within Razer's Synapse software, and thanks to that Hypershift technology, you can set it so you can program one button to access a secondary layer of actions on all the other buttons. So, for example, one of those thumb buttons can then be pressed and held and then change every other button on the mouse, which means that you can have more than 8 buttons. You can have a lot more. You can basically double up the number, which makes it very interesting at software level. So there's a lot more hidden underneath the surface of the Viper Ultimate. And if you want to find out more about what that means, please be sure to check out the link in the description to the review where I go into a lot more depth on it. The G502 Lightspeed is interesting for more reasons though, and obviously if you're a right-handed gamer you might find the G502 to be more comfortable as long as you don't mind the extra weight, because it is, as I said, the weightier of the two. The Viper Ultimate is significantly lighter. It's almost half the weight. So if you're looking for a lightweight mouse that's really convenient, then the Viper Ultimate might well be it. Now, a bit on the charging dock. I think it's worth demonstrating the problems with it. So I've said, for example, that it's very convenient to have this charging base station because it means that when the mouse is running low, you can pop your mouse onto it. However, I did find it, as you can see, quite fiddly to use and to get that mouse to dock easily. The bonus of it is, though, that you can set it so the RGB lighting on the mouse and the dock flash a certain color to let you know when the charge is running low. So you have a visual cue to let you know that you're running out of battery. This is really convenient because you can then just unplug the cable and plug it into the mouse. Or obviously, if you've finished using it, you can just set it down onto that base station to charge. This isn't something you can do with the G502, which is obviously a bit of a downer. But unless you purchase that power play system from Logitech, which is a powered mouse mat that means that you don't need to plug it in, you can just carry on using it. That is certainly a really interesting highlight to that mouse. The Viper Ultimate has a really nice setup in terms of the weight and the PTFE feet. You have these really slick and agile feet, which means that the mouse just zips about the desk. So in terms of being able to move it around, it's really easy to throw that mouse around as quickly as you like. The G502 is more customizable though. I said it has a better hardware setup and it is more comfortable, at least from my personal point of view, thanks to the side grips and the overall ergonomics of it. Also, because you have included weights in the box, you can customize the weight of it as well. So as standard, it weighs 114 grams, which is pretty heavy for a mouse in modern times. And there's an additional 16 grams of weight included in the box. You can see the little metal weights on the left-hand side here contained within a little holder. You can take those out and put them on the underside of the mouse to adjust the weight to your personal preference. So you can add in all of them for even more weight, or you can drop them in of your choosing and set it up at a certain extra weight. You'll also find under that little bit of plastic at the back, there's a little dock for storing the dongle, and then you'll see that there are various sections under the mouse that you can put these weights into. So it's really easy to be able to customize these. You can just pull out the larger weights and put them in place, and you'll see what goes where quite easily, and I'll just demonstrate how to do that now. The ability to customize the weight is obviously going to be a personal preference, whether you like doing it this way or whether you just want to just use the mouse as it is as standard. You'll see that the two 4-gram weights fit in the little plate that covers where the USB dongle would go, and then the other smaller weights go at the front, and it's fairly straightforward to do it. And it's worth playing around with this to get sort of the fit for you. It might seem a bit gimmicky, but I think that this sort of speaks to the overall flexibility of this mouse and the sheer number of features and specifications that you're getting included with it. So what you're paying for is perhaps a more premium looking device, certainly something that stands out from the two. The G502 is immediately identifiable because of its design setup, and so it is perhaps the more striking of the two, but we shouldn't necessarily dismiss the Viper because it's obviously still a wonderful mouse. So the conclusion is that these are two fantastic devices. Which you prefer is really going to be down to personal preference. For me, I'd probably go for the G502 Lightspeed for simple access to the hardware buttons. I really like things like the left and right click on the mouse wheel, the sniper button on the left hand side, easy access thumb buttons, and the overall sort of angry look of it. However, there's a lot to be said for the convenience of the charging station with the Viper Ultimate, also the customization capabilities within Razer's Synapse software, and the fact that it is ergonomically designed for both left and right-handed gamers. So if you're ambidextrous or if you're a lefty, obviously that's the one to go for. And the fact that it is so agile on the desk makes it very appealing. They're both very understated in terms of the RGB lighting, so there's not loads of garish RGB lighting on them, they're just subtly designed in that way. And they're both fantastic mice. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Be sure to check out all the specifications and links in the description, as well as my links to previous videos I've done on these mice that might be worth finding out more about. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching. I'd like to take a moment to give a brief shout out to my extra special YouTube members who have clicked that join button to support the channel. That includes Meaty Keyboard, Raw, Sir Spawns a Lot, Kraken Tortoise, Jeffrey Johnson, D, J Shank 007, and Beaster Bunny. Thanks very much. It's really appreciated. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.